Liam Turner was born in a tiny fishing village near the rugged coast, where the winds were stronger than the voices of the people living there. His home was a small wooden hut with cracks that let in the cold, and every winter night he wrapped himself in 2 torn blankets and whispered to himself that one day he would leave this place, not because he hated it, but because he felt something calling him from beyond the cliffs and the sea. His mother used to say he was born looking far away, as if he already saw the world he had not yet reached. His village had nothing except fishermen who struggled with old nets and broken boats. People woke before dawn, worked in the salt water all day, and still returned home with barely enough to feed their families. Liam grew up watching his father return with disappointment on his face after the sea refused to give enough fish. When Liam was 12, his father passed away after a storm destroyed his boat. The village helped them for a few weeks, but after that, life fell back into silence. Liam and his mother survived by mending old nets for others, earning just enough to buy stale bread and dried vegetables. But even in those harsh days, Liam carried something powerful inside him, an unusual hunger to learn. The village had no school, only an old sailor named Mr. Doyle, who kept a wooden trunk full of books that smelled of sea salt and age. Liam spent many evenings sitting on the rocks, reading stories of merchants, explorers, and leaders who changed their lives by believing they could. Mr. Doyle noticed his curiosity and encouraged him, saying, "A boy with a mind like yours should not stay trapped in a place that has stopped growing." By the time Liam turned 17, he knew he needed to leave the village, but he had no money, no job, and no relatives in other places. The only thing he had was a strong back and a determined mind. He went to the harbor town 2 days away on foot and asked for any work he could get. Most people laughed at him when they saw his worn clothes and simple shoes, but Liam did not stop. For 3 days he walked from shop to shop, asking for work with a respectful tone and brave heart. At last, a trader who exported wool agreed to let him carry heavy bundles for a few coins a day. The work was exhausting. Liam's hands blistered and his shoulders ached. But he never complained. Every night he practiced speaking English more confidently by repeating sentences he heard in the market. He knew that communication was a kind of power, and he wanted it. He saved every coin he earned, living on the cheapest food he could find. Months passed, and soon he had enough money to take a small boat to a nearby English-speaking port town known for trade, culture, and opportunities. The moment he stepped off the boat, he felt the difference. The streets were wider, the buildings taller, the people louder. Markets buzzed with energy. Merchants shouted prices, children chased each other, and ships from distant lands brought spices, fabrics, and goods he had never seen. Liam felt alive but overwhelmed. He told himself that feeling small was normal, but staying small was a choice he would not make. He spent the next weeks working small tasks, cleaning storerooms, carrying crates, helping fishermen fix sails. Every night he wrote down new words he heard and practiced speaking alone until he could pronounce them clearly. He wanted to sound confident, like the people who made deals in the marketplace. One day, while helping at a warehouse, Liam noticed how disorganized the storage was. Wool, grain, tools, and pottery were piled randomly. Workers wasted time searching for goods. Liam took a risk and politely suggested a simple system, placing items in sections, marking crates, and keeping a list at the entry. The merchant who owned the warehouse was surprised. "Who taught you such organization?" he asked. No one, sir, Liam replied. I just watched how much time is lost every day. Impressed, the merchant allowed him to arrange one section. Within days, everything ran more smoothly. Workers found items faster, and orders were shipped on time. The merchant promoted him to an assistant role with better pay. For the first time, Liam slept in a small rented room instead of the cold corners of a storage shed. But Liam wanted more than comfort. He wanted growth. He observed trade patterns, listened to negotiations, and learned about supply and demand. He noticed something interesting. Many merchants struggled to get high-quality charcoal used by blacksmiths and bakers. The local forests produced good wood, but people didn't have the knowledge to process it efficiently. Liam sensed an opportunity. With permission, he visited the outskirts, where villagers lived, and studied how they made charcoal. Their method was slow and wasted much wood. Liam remembered reading in one of Mr. Doyle's old books about a different technique used in another country. He tested it with villagers, and after several failures and adjustments, they successfully produced charcoal that burned longer and cleaner. Now he needed buyers. Liam carried a sack of the improved charcoal to the town and demonstrated it to blacksmiths. One was immediately impressed and agreed to purchase small batches. Soon, others followed. Liam negotiated fair prices and always delivered on time. The villagers who helped him were paid more than they had ever earned, and word spread quickly. Within months, Liam's small charcoal venture grew. He registered it under his own name, hired transport workers, and partnered with villagers who trusted him because he paid honestly and never broke promises. His business expanded from charcoal to wood planks, then to handcrafted tools and simple furniture. He learned that people respected not just products, but reliability, clarity, and good communication. Liam reinvested every coin into growing the business. He purchased better carts, improved sheds for processing wood, and hired skilled workers. He did not become rich overnight. There were many failures, including wet wood shipments ruined by rain, dishonest middlemen trying to cheat him, and rival merchants spreading rumors. But Liam faced every challenge with calm analysis. Instead of getting angry, he improved his systems, tightened his contracts, and kept learning. Years passed, and his company grew quietly but steadily. What made him different from others was his habit of treating people fairly. Workers were given warm meals, tools were well maintained, and customers were spoken to with respect. Liam believed that the true strength of a business was the trust it created. One day, a large trading company approached him with a proposal. They had heard of his honesty and efficient methods. They wanted him to supply wood and charcoal on a large scale. Signing a contract with them would change his life. Liam felt the weight of the moment, but remained humble. He reviewed every detail, ensured fair terms for all workers involved, and finally agreed. The partnership transformed his business from a small, regional supplier to a major name across English-speaking ports. His goods traveled on ships to distant lands, and his income grew. But even as wealth entered his life, Liam never adopted pride or arrogance. He still visited the villagers who had helped him, still walked through his warehouse personally, still listened to his workers' suggestions. People admired him not just for success, but for staying grounded. One season, Liam returned briefly to the tiny fishing village where he was born. The path was the same, the cliffs unchanged, the winds still strong. He walked to the old hut where he once struggled to survive. Tears filled his eyes, not out of sadness, but gratitude. He had come from a place with nothing, yet he created something meaningful because he refused to accept the limits around him. He met Mr. Doyle, now older and slower, and handed him a wooden box filled with books, tools, and supplies. "You gave me knowledge when I had nothing," Liam said. "This is the smallest way I can thank you." Mr. Doyle smiled and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You built your life with your own courage," he said. "Remember that the world opens for those who keep walking forward." Liam returned to his business with renewed passion. He expanded into new trades: paper, ropes, small sailing parts. He trained young workers who came from poor backgrounds, believing that someone must give them the same chance life once gave him. His company became known not only for its products, but for its values. And whenever someone asked how he rose from poverty to success, Liam always answered the same way: "I started with nothing but willingness to learn, courage to try, and discipline to continue." The world is difficult, but not impossible. The hardest walls are the ones we build inside ourselves. Once you break those, every road becomes open.